Good day to everybody. I want to talk a bit today about the BMW i4, which I have on order. So this one's not about motorbikes or the Highlands. It's about buying an electric vehicle and getting ready for it. So I'm due to get my car mid-October, although here we are now at the end of September and I've heard nothing about when it's actually going to come. But what I want to do on this video is just talk very briefly about my experience of getting a charge point at home. And for the sharp-eyed, or the unsharp-eyed now, I have a pod point. So I started looking about 4 months ago, knowing things like supply chain issues might make it take longer to order. And in fact, the actual, from the point I committed to getting it fitted, wasn't too long. But it's not quite as straightforward as you might believe. Most of these companies want to avoid direct contact with you, so you're doing all your ordering online. And once you say you want one of these, you have to give an awful lot of information about your electricity supply, about where the electricity comes into the house, about your meterage, all sorts of things. So you're probably going to need an hour to gather all the information that you need to send to any company who's going to do this for you. The second thing to consider is whether you're going to have a standard installation or a bespoke installation. And that depends a lot on your house. Talking to the guys who fitted my pod point, they say 85% of what they fit is a non-standard installation. Probably the newer your house, the more likely it is you're going to have a standard installation. So I was quoted, I think, £800 by pod point for a standard installation. I gave them a lot of information, but they started to ask me questions that I just couldn't answer. I'm not an electrician. And I got to the point where I was thinking, this is impossible. But eventually got to talk to somebody who asked me some questions, and I said, I just don't know. So lo and behold, they send an engineer around to do an assessment. And they also said to me, well, we always send an engineer around. So I kind of wondered why you kept asking me all the questions that I can't answer and just caused me stress, when you're always going to send an engineer around to assess it anyway. Why not just send an engineer around? Because I'd already paid by then. So they came around, did an assessment, we discussed where I wanted it, and then the non-standard comes because where you're going to put it, what sort of wall they've got to go through, mine are quite thick walls, and how they get access to electricity supply. So just to show that mine wasn't overly complex but still non-standard, here's my pod point, and just in my back door there, here, here's my meters. So that's only about 2 meters, and it came into the wall through here, up along there, up here, and then right down, and there is my fitting. So they were telling me, the engineer was quite friendly and he was telling me a lot about some of the installations they do, where they're doing 30, 40, 50 meters, they're going through walls, under floors, roundhouses, all sorts of things. So what they always do is they come and do an assessment, then they price up how much it's actually going to cost to fit your pod point. I can't talk about the other manufacturers. You then get a new quote. Mine was quite straightforward, just another £100, so I didn't worry about it. But my engineer said there are times when they're charging double what the original quote was because of the amount of work that's got to take place. So the price that you see when you try and order something like a pod point and what you actually pay is going to be very dependent upon the type of house you have, how far from the electricity point or the entry point your charger is going to be, and any other things that you want to do. I have to say pod point overall were very good, bar some little glitches which I've already described, and we're now ready for when we get our BMW i4, which is what I wanted to be, and the next stage then will be BMW confirming the day I'm going to get it, going to collect it, and doing all the usual things you do when you buy a new car, and things like first charging. So hopefully that will help some of you who, like me, have no real idea. And then bearing in mind that what they tell you on YouTube is generally done by fitters or electricians, my experience actually is the real experience, where what they quote, what you pay, can be quite far apart. And of course, in any sums that you're doing on what you're going to save in buying an electric car, of course you've got to add in the £1,000 or so you're going to spend on getting a home charging point. So take care, enjoy your Sunday.